So what up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy Blacc, Exzachly My Poiint podcast. Of course, I'm kicking it with the homie, SHAWN Majors. You already know, one of the dopest guys in the Kansas City metro area. Well, he's a father, a coach, business guy, stock guru, you know what I'm saying? What you need, this the dude to holla at, tap in with. But today is a very special day. This is our first networking event. You see, we have a lot of entrepreneurs in here, a lot of business owners, a lot of successful people in this establishment. So I am humbled that they came to come out and support us today. And, so we're going to get right into it. Today, the topic is Black economics, right? We're going to talk about why are we as a culture are so far behind economics. I understand that some of it may be from our own recognizance, but some of it is systemic. So we're going to talk about this in an open session platform. So I don't want you guys to feel like you just have to sit here and listen to us. We do want you to chime in, ask questions, make points, challenge our perspectives in a most educational and respectful way. But that's what we're here for. Of course, this networking event was to get us in contact with people from different realms of the business world. But now that that is out the way, let's get down to the gist of things. So when we talk about Black economics, as I mentioned earlier, a dollar leaves the Black community in 3 days. So when we get paid and we go and we start spending our money with different producers, 97% of the time they do not look like us, right? They are Jewish, Hispanic, Asian, but they're not Black. So when we're talking about closing that economic gap, the one thing that we have to do is support each other. Now, the caveat to that, in my opinion, is that some of the Black businesses that we support, customer service is horrendous. Man. You and I have kind of had a conversation about that. So if you want to tap into that just a little bit and just speak from your perspective.
We're not gonna say no names today. All I'm gonna say is when you're dealing with our culture and our brand, I think we ultimately would like to support and give back. But when it comes to the service aspect, or if you say you're gonna do something in a timely manner, it needs to get done, or you're gonna show up on time, needs to get done. Apologize, we were late. But I just think the professionalism side should be kicked up, and I think the legal aspect, I think there's a lot of things we don't take into consideration to legalize our business to put us in position to win amongst other cultures. So whether that's ignorance, us not knowing, us just putting forth the added effort to put ourselves in that situation.
What are some of those examples to legalize your businesses that could actually put us ahead? Like, give us some examples of those, because you and I talk all the time about, the different types of businesses, but like, you're a guru in that. So talk to me about that, bro.
I think the main two, you got a sole proprietorship where you're still riding off your social security number, and it's still added income that you're able to receive and write off and put forward and things of that nature. And then the LLC is probably the second most common, where your liability as far as what you're responsible for, when it comes to like possibly getting sued and things happen to where people can take stuff from you, just protecting your business on that side, I think are the two most valuable for our culture, is the sole proprietorship and the LLC.
Right, I think that's one of the biggest things, that I've learned, starting this podcast, we formed it into an LLC and just kind of researching some of the pros and cons, like, for example, like just some of the tax write-offs.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we got to do a better job of finding those loopholes, but it starts with educating ourselves. And I think that's something that we don't do a lot of.
Yeah.
We don't take the time to do the dirty work, to read the X's and O's. Or most, in my opinion, even to like, if I don't know something, reach out to somebody who does.
Yeah.
A lot of times, that's our pride, getting in our way. And, we don't want to reach out for help. So speaking of education, right, me being the teacher, because I have some teachers in there, you know what I'm saying? I have some teachers in here, some educators in here, right? I think education is one of the biggest obstacles or things that we need to overcome when we're talking about closing this economic gap.
100%.
You talked to me today. What was the stat?
Yeah, so basically just looking at us as a whole, 65% of African American kids
graduate and don't go to high school. Don't go to college, I'm sorry. So let that sink in. You know what I mean? 65% of the people that you graduated that look just like you, they didn't further their education. It stopped right there. So for me, where do those kids go at that point? So we look at, are you going to be a sacker at Walmart? Are you going to work at Target? You going to get out in the field, go work at Ford, things of that nature. All that stuff is cool. But to generate a substantial amount of income, you got to make some impacts and clock in more dollars. So I think about trade. So education for me, just looking at your surroundings, school district, you know, we actually appoint the majority of these people to watch over our kids for 12 years, and we don't monitor them. We vote them in or allow them to be in and make decisions on our kids' educations. Where are the funds and the tax dollars that's going in to put our kids in a position to when they graduate, it's not just college. There's trades, you know, HVAC, you know what I mean? You could be a CDL driver. We definitely need them.
I think that's one of the biggest plagues to the Black community is taking vocational education out of the school system. Everybody, I know some districts are making steps to, you know, to make that an option for students because college isn't for everybody. But I know when I was in high school, like, Votech wasn't even promoted like that. I found out about Votech through one of my homies. 100%. He's like, bro, I only go to school 4 hours a day. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, bro, I go to Votech the rest of the day. I'm like, you go where? He's like, bro, I get on the bus, they take me over to Raytown, and we learn how to fix cars. He's like, bro, there's so much stuff you can do over there. You can do hair, you can do electricity, you can do, I was like, bro, they offer all that? And he was like, yeah. So the fact that I had to find out from a fellow classmate and not my counselor, like what the options are, like, I think that's systemic within itself because when you look at our demographic and you look at that 65% of students are not going to go to college after high school, then where's their education going? What skills are they ascertaining? Like, what are they doing with their idle time? You know, they're just allowed to sit and roam the streets, and that's when you look at things like, you know, the high crime rate, you know what I'm saying, the high incarceration rate. So, you know, we definitely have to do a better job, you know, with the education system. But, you know, we always talk about accountability. We as a culture have to show up to those school board meetings.
100%.
We have to show up to those parent-teacher conferences. We have to show up to those open houses. We can't look at teachers as the enemy. Like, I sit in a classroom and I have parents calling students during class. Like, how are you expecting your child to learn and you're calling them? And then the caveat to that is the student says, well, it's my mama. And if she say I can do it, I can do it. So I'm actually in a catch-22, like, well, the parent is doing it for him. What am I supposed to do? So the education aspect definitely has to be taken serious. And it's not just even education in the brick and mortar building. It's doing the education of yourself, the different options that you have, like trades, learning the stock market, even if it's teaching your child that, hey, you're gonna take $50 of your paycheck and find a stock. You know, things like that. Because when we went to school, just like you and I were talking, a lot of our white friends weren't worried about going to college because their dads already had a business, right? It was, my dad's a contractor, my dad's an electrician, my dad's a plumber. So I already know where I'm going and I'm gonna own the business when I get there. We don't have that luxury. So if we continue to just disrespect the educational institution and not support it, we're gonna continue to put ourselves further and further behind the 8-ball economically. I saw some hands raised. Did you have something that you wanted to say?
Because I feel like you all were touching bases on the vocational schools. So I'm like, let's get to the root of why that was removed from the Black community.
Talk to us.
I mean, you know,
Talk to us.
I can't say all the facts, but I feel like it was intentional because when you provide an underprivileged community with a means on how to sustain themselves and their families with their own hands, then you take away the substance of what they can do, then you control the narrative by saying the only other option is to go to college, create debt. And I'm not against college. I'm not against that, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like it's a bigger reason why vocational programs have been removed from the African American community because it gives us control over our own destinies, our own lives, how we can create, becoming business owners. And so that's not really what people at large want to advocate for. So I'm just saying we can.
I do want to point out the fact that a lot of us being behind or not knowing or putting focus on certain types of education does have to do with the generation. Because if we think about our grandparents, they weren't pushing college for our grandparents. They started pushing that for our parents and for us. The generation we're in now, kids are trying to be famous on social media, and they can make music, money on social media if they're taught the right ways of doing so. So, yeah, there's trades. Our generation was really pushed to go to school, to pick up the debt to go to school. We learned, we're a really unique generation in regards that we saw so many technological advances and so many changes. We know we know tapes, we know CDs, we know MP4s, we know all of that, you know what I'm saying, MP3 players. But it was our generation that we started being able to open our eyes to the different opportunities that we have, and knowing that you don't have to go to college to make money. You can go to a trade. But now the generation that's now, they know that they don't have to do any of that. They just have to monetize their social media correctly. So it's really up to us as the unique generation who's seeing all the different opportunities given to us to be able to say, okay, well, if college and trade is not for you and you want to do the social media thing, this is how you do it correctly. So I think we do need to make sure that we're keeping in mind that the generational advances that come over our lives and our parents' lives do have an effect on that, and have an effect on the generation that is right now, with them being so focused on being TikTok famous or Instagram famous, because you do get really good money from that just by being yourself, just by waking up, showing what you do for a living, or showing what you do in a day, going shopping, doing silly things that we don't think about monetizing, because we were taught to go to school, get this degree, and then that opens up opportunities for you to make more money. But nowadays, that's not necessarily the case. You can wake up and just film yourself constantly and make way more than what we're making.
Right.
You know?
Imagine if we had social media in
You have
school.
to think about the generational advances and what the focus is for each generation, because what the focus was for our grandparents is not the same focus what it was for our parents or for us, and it's not for the next generation. So we have to think about that also.
I want to say that I love what you just stated, because I feel like the generations before us, a lot of them pushed us away from our passions. They said, instead of doing what you want to do, how about you do this? You know what I'm saying? And when you do that, you know, kids leave their home broken. You know what I mean? So their dreams are already shattered, and they feel like they have to settle for less than what they've already had. Another thing I wanted to say is that we're young in our freedom. A lot of times we don't realize how young we are in our freedom as Black people. We haven't been free to build that long. We're just now seeing the first billionaires and stuff like that in the United States of America. So we are going in the right direction. Before there weren't rooms like this, everybody in here are business people. This wasn't happening before. Another thing, that if we're solution-based, everybody in this room, we could all literally pitch in, go to these schools, and figure out what these kids' passions are, and figure out how we can help them achieve them, and we can do it like right now, solution-based. You see what I'm saying? We can put a plan together. We got, you know, Coach Central, one of the inner city schools. You know what I'm saying? We got people that's connected to this inner city school district that needs it the most. And instead of these kids leaving the house broken already with shattered dreams, we can help them highlight them and build them up, you know what I mean, early on.
I do want to piggyback off that though, because with us giving up our passions, it's what that generation before us saw was best for us. So they saw that the people who went to college in their generation were making more money, so they wanted better for the generation afterwards, so for their kids. So with that being said, I do want to point out the fact that had we just listened to that generation, like this generation, we're trying to push college and trades, but they know that they can make money off of social media and things that we think are too simple to make money from. So with us going out and helping them find those avenues, also listening to what those avenues are, and using the knowledge that we have to help them make it more profitable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just wondering, does anybody like correlate some of the issues that we have in our community with voting? The reason why I ask that is because currently right now, I hear everybody talking about, you know, college and college and college. There's a House Bill 2171 that is being pushed that is trying to make a requirement that kids fill out the FAFSA before they are even allowed to graduate. So you say to yourself, like, if you're pushing, only thing is college, I may not want to go to college. I may want to go to a trade. But if you're telling me that the only way that I can graduate high school is to fill out the FAFSA, kids are going to fill it out, go into debt, feel like the only thing I can do is college. I mean, I just wonder if sometimes that we're not voting on our best interests, because white people are, I don't want to play the race card, but white people are voting their interests in every single day. And it seems like we're only motivated to get Donald Trump out of office, and we're not motivated by what can we do in our communities.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I love it.
On this, so I love the idea that the new generation underneath us, they live in a more instantaneous time frame where things are quick and you can wake up and roll out the bed and make money. The problem is that they don't have the organization. So So we can make a bunch of money, but what do you do with it, right? So I love the idea that our parents, they came from a place of structure. So if we could take the structure along with the ideal that you have more ways to make money in a you know, if it's a faster capacity, that's fine, but you still need to know how to set yourself up, Mr. Stockman, in a way that can continue.
Because we see both sides.
Yeah.
We saw the advancement of social media and how easy it is to make money. All of us are entrepreneurs. We know to monetize our social media, but we also know the structure of stocks, of savings, of bonds, of those things. So that's where we come in as the glue of being this unique generation that's seen both sides.
And I love you too, so thank you for advocating for vocational schools. I would say though, it's so interesting that I hear you say, speaking from a beauty professional, instantaneous, you can upload a page and become a beauty professional that's unlicensed, can I say that? So again, not organized. So how do we again attract these young people to vocational schools? Is that using a different language that they understand? Because trade doesn't sound exciting, it doesn't sound sexy, it doesn't even sound fresh. So how do we communicate? It's still a trade, but it's still giving them the opportunity to create what they want, the way they want.
I think everybody says something that's so valid and important, right? Like trade doesn't sound glamorous to any student. Like I've always been a business teacher, talking about almost everything that you have hit on today. Now being in a vocational, when I say trade, they're like, what is that, dog? Like you talking about extra school. So then I have to hit them with it's not 40, we do 60% labs, meaning that we teach you hands-on what you're doing. 40% is the technical, the organization, the how do you keep this business running, which is what we lack in experience, because honestly, my grandma had a third grade, education that could build a house. So but you still need that educational organization piece. So that's what we're gonna give you. That's what we have you reading books for. That's what we're helping you with the vocabulary so you can walk in the door prepared and ready to start whatever business. But the piece that you mentioned is something that we see in our generation, which is you don't have to do college. You don't have to do trade. You don't have to listen to a word we say because we don't even know what the technology is going to be built. But sit down, think about everything that we're missing, right? Like think about what you're missing in your everyday piece. And I'm calling somebody here busy because I always call him when I need something for my schools. But I'm like, wait, what are we missing, dog? Like you have to think about what do we not have and create a business opportunity for it. So even now, every one of us in here, it looks like a lot of millennials. Every one of us in here, we saw something that never existed, which was social media. We never thought that was gonna happen. We never thought that would be as big as it was because we were doing it to stay in contact with people we didn't know. They came and monetized it. And then we saw wait, but we still missing the organizational piece. So that's a money-making opportunity to even teach the new generation. But they're gonna have something else that we don't know. So it's just getting and educating students and people and preparing ourselves to say what do we not have? Where is the missing gap? And then how can we produce it and make money from it? And I think if we stay, I hate to say this, I know I'm an educator, school, whatever. But if we focus on school is cool if that's what you need for your certification, but know what you're gonna leave high school with, because if it requires it, cool. If it doesn't require it, find what you need to have, and I think that should be the new message that we deliver and pass down to the next generation. And I think they are already hip. They're like school. If you sit in the classroom, you already tell you they ain't going to college. They're like, that's stupid. Y'all was done for paying the money, and now,
Yeah. To kind of piggyback on that too, I look at college as more expertise. If I want to be a doctor, lawyer, attorney, I'm a specialist in my field, in my craft. And just to piggyback off that, you said the messaging. And that goes back to the education piece. How connected are we to our counselors, the people that our kids are sitting in class with? Because I know several times I coach Little League football, so we got over 100 kids. You got 10% of the kids coming, they can't play in championship games because they ineligible. You know what I mean? How do you go to middle school and high school and have 6 Fs and a parent not be notified? Or there's not a portal or an avenue for you to be connected. Not saying that parents don't have a responsibility and they may not be doing, their due diligence, but I know there are some in the education field that will just let somebody go through the motions and bypass what they need to hit. So you may not feel like there's no option. So when it comes from, do I have an opportunity to go to college? No, I didn't do what I needed to do in high school. You know, I got 6 Fs. How am I going to accelerate there? I just think our generation, like you mentioned, is taking a more proactive approach, you know, with our children and being a lot more active. And that's what I meant by holding people accountable. If you holding this seat, you know, I need to know what are you doing while my kid is here for 8 hours to ensure that they have options. It's not just going through the curriculum, you know how to read a book and a report, and doing that. You know, we flow kids these days. I really do. You know, they're a lot more access to the world. You know what I mean? We float them. It's like, okay, he don't want to be here, sit him in the corner. It's like, dude, the people that are going to be taken care of, well, honestly, I feel like that's a good thing. It's a good thing to give them too many options, but we're not channeling those options. If I look at my sister as a prime example, you know, my middle sister, her name is Sydney. We knew off the bat she was not going to college. We knew that. Her whole vibe, she really don't like school. My mother, her senior year, enrolled her in cosmetology school, her senior year in high school. She graduated 6 months after she was done with high school. She had her cosmetology license. So at 18, you have an avenue to hop in the world and be able to produce, to make money in your pocket and feel some self-worth. We sending kids out here, 65% of them with no vision and nowhere to go. And then we wondering why, you know what I mean, stuff is so jacked. Who's gonna take care of us when we 70 years old?
I mean,
that's what we feed.
I think it goes back to, you know, the systemic portion of it. Yeah. Because when you look at Reconstruction, right, all of us were able to be self-sustainable. Yep. We didn't have to go out of our neighborhoods to find a doctor, to find a lawyer, to find a carpenter, and things of that nature. So when you say what's part of the plan when some of these districts are taking away vocational education, they're taking away chances for kids to learn how to create avenues for themselves. Mm-hmm. Now we're relying on social media, but you have to be careful of the imagery that you're putting on social media, right? A lot of these kids are not using social media from a standpoint, you know, to grow my brand, to learn, because there's a lot of like financial gurus out there, real estate people. There's a lot of information out there on social media, but they're not interested in that. Yep. So it goes back to the organizational part, like everybody was speaking about. We have to show them, hey, follow this guy who's good in real estate. Mm-hmm. Follow this person who's good in financial literacy. Follow this person who's good at opening up businesses. So now you're not just educating yourself or relying on yourself to be educated in the classroom by a teacher who sometimes may not want your best interest. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Yep. So that's the caveat to that, working in the education system. Like you're saying, holding people accountable. We have to hold these teachers accountable because there's a lot of teachers who come there just for the tax write-offs for teaching our children in these low-income schools.
I got a suggestion. I love this conversation. Mm-hmm. I think more than anything, like solution-based wise, if y'all, the podcast, you know what I'm saying, like put together some type of program where we go and have these conversations with the kids. Because otherwise we could talk to each other and figure out what we feel like is wrong with things and all that stuff, and then it just continues. Yep. You know what I'm saying? The only way a real change will happen is if we go and start making some stuff happen.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
And also, I want to say, it's important for us to listen to the kids, because right now, you know, we're talking about these things, but in all honesty, I pay attention to where everything is going. You know what I'm saying? The metaverse and all that stuff is going to be real. A lot of these kids are going to be living in goggles when they adults. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be all about the virtual world. And so all the things that we feel like is extremely valuable right now might be AI. 100%. Like, you don't know exactly how fast things are going to transition into where everything's going. So we could try to hone them in and be like, you need to learn how to fix a car, and then a robot take their job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Real talk. But I'm with you on that.
Like, so think about it from this standpoint. Yeah, but think about it from this standpoint. Think about it from this standpoint. When we were growing up, right? How many of us really wanted to go get jobs at 16, 17 years old, right? Now you don't have that option, because what did they do? In our community, right, we weren't taking care of our responsibilities, so kids were showing up to work late or not coming at all. So if I'm a business owner, I can't keep hiring 16, 17-year-old kids who always have an excuse of why they can't come to work. So now what did they do now? Hispanics are working, getting all the hours, right? So now our kids are left to do things, you know, they're left to figure out things on their own. It hasn't always been that way, because I know in high school, at least 45% of my friends had jobs at the local restaurants in the neighborhood, from McDonald's to Subway to Chick-fil-A wasn't out then, but Burger King, Long John Silver's. I worked at Popeyes myself. Now maybe I'm just speaking about here in the city of Grandview, right?
It depends on the area you in.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I work in a situation now where 45, almost 50% of my students work. Like they work a job. So when you're talking about taking this podcast, you know, into the schools, I actually teach a class called Jobs in America's Graduates, where we focus on life after graduation, where we focus on soft skills. And one of the things that we're working on now is actually not me taking my podcast there, but them creating a podcast. Like we're going to show you how to monetize your thoughts, how to create content, but that also means you have to pay attention in English class because you have to learn how to write. You have to pay attention in math class because you have to learn how to count. You have to pay attention in your business class because now you have to learn the different intricacies of the business world. Yes, this podcasting thing is fun, but if we want to monetize that, then there's certain subjects in school that you have to pay attention to. And we have to get kids not just to appreciate the fun part, but do their due diligence and embrace the grind and do the stuff that you may not want to do now, right?
And I think that's the exciting part, because as long as you have those options there, you're going to have people that succeed and that don't. Because you can't teach drive.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? We could want them to do whatever we want them to do, and in every race you see that. You see people that succeeding and people that's not doing so well, and that's just being self-driven. But as long as the options are available, we'll continue to see our race thrive. Like again, we're young in our freedom, and we're seeing the first billionaires having these room discussions like this now. So we're going in the right place.
But I think it's also paying back to the original conversation of accountability. Like, we can't expect anybody outside of our community to help us. Like, we need to be accountable. So the conversations that we're having.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, like, we need to figure this out.
We as a collective entity need to be accountable. So
But the parents need to be accountable first, and they're sending their children to school, because I'm an educator as well, and they're sending their children to school, and they're just like, here y'all do it. And so we're expected to do every single thing, literally. Every single thing. And so when we talk about accountability, yeah, that's wonderful. As a teacher, as an educator, yes, we are accountable for educating students and educating the parents as well to a certain extent. But as a parent, you also have to educate your child. And sir, I heard you say like, oh, that's exciting when you get to do this and this and this, but there's an ugly side to it too. Because you have, as a parent, you have to put your foot down and say, no, I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. There's parents that let their child do whatever. I don't want to go to class. Oh, okay, that's fine, whatever. But there's opportunities within the district that parents do not have their child signed up for, or that parents just do not know about. But as a community, we also are not held accountable. We have mentoring programs throughout the district, and I know that we will post on Facebook, we will put it out there as a district, and we will beg and beg and beg for mentors, and we will get nobody. There is a list of almost 1,000, if not more, kids on a waiting list, waiting for mentors within our district, and they have none.
I tried to start doing nonprofits before that.
What's your district?
Literally.
Kansas City.
Okay.
I think the underlying issue is that this generation does not have a passion. You said something earlier saying that our parents like stifled our passion and made us go to school instead of following our passion. I think this generation doesn't really know like what their passion is. I'm speaking from experience because I have younger brothers in that generation. I want to continue this thought. So what we're really, as human nature, it is for us to be liked, is for us to be accepted. That's our human nature, just period. So what is popular right now is being rappers, being popular for what? For having relationships, being relationship goals, being cute, Instagram models, just influencers, period. So what are influencers doing? It depends. They can be doing completely nothing. So they don't really know what their passion is. They just know they want to be making money. They want to look like these people who are being idolized. So whenever we were growing up, our generation, they asked, who's your hero? We'd say a firefighter, we'd say an engineer, we'd say these different people. This generation, my brother's generation, the generation below us, they don't really know what they want because they don't have that passion. So you can have parents sending them out to these mentoring programs, but what are they being mentored for? To be rich? To make money? To have Gucci? To have
I think
I gotta respond. Those things are passion.
100%.
Like they want to be an influencer, that is a passion. Like me, I grew up and I said I want to be a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, oh, you need to go to college, you need to do that.
But
if it's not, if you don't, yes, it's specific. I'm saying I know a bunch of kids in the generation as well, and they do have specific things. They do want to be this specific thing on social media, this specific type of artist, this specific type of producer, so on and so forth. But what we do is like,
put limitations on it.
You know what I'm saying? Fire, you sure you don't want to do this? You sure you don't want to be a mechanic? Like what I'm saying is, those things are super possible, but people push them away like, no, we don't want you to do that. Why? Let them do what they want to do and help them do that, because then they'll be happy.
Help them to do it the right way.
The right way for them.
Right.
Because what we view as the right way ain't the right way for them.
Well,
Their generation is different than ours.
I think it's just the structure of the organization. At the end of the day, if it's a rapper, if it's an influencer, you can look at that as a title as an entrepreneur. What is the blueprint for an entrepreneur?
Well, that's what we're helping them with.
Right, but I'm just saying.
Because they're kids, so they gotta, learn how to do it the right. Yeah.
That's what I think when I say right.
All right, so look, for as far as the educational sector of this, Rob, you gonna wrap it up with your last statement,
I'm going off of what she said about passion. I mean, systemically, African Americans couldn't follow their passion. But the simple fact is, you want to be a rapper, you want to be an artist. That's not gonna pay a bill right now. You need money right now. White families, Hispanic families, if you don't make it as an artist, you don't make it as a dancer or whatever, that's probably fine. Here's another $10,000 that you can waste off for the next thing that you can go to. Whereas black families, it's like, hey, you want to draw. Well, that's not going to bring bills in the house. That's not going to pay any bills in the house. Here's a job at Burger King. That's a bit, you can sustain your family with that. Whereas that's why we were pushed away from our passions. It wasn't like people didn't want to do these things. It was like basically you got to get money right now. If you can't, if it's not making any money, it's not making any sense. And unfortunately, that's just based from our communities.
Yeah, but fortunately, you can make money off those things. You see what I'm saying? Like, and that's a fact. No, even then you can go out and sell your time. You get paid off every result. So
reality is, I gotta work.
It's actually not easier now. It was easier before, especially like in music, because people actually bought music. So it was actually easier then. You could go out to Bannister Mall or the malls and sell your CDs and things of that nature, and you would make more. If you sell one CD, that's $10 an hour.
You don't necessarily need to sell music as an artist nowadays, but you just need to have views.
No, I know now. I'm saying it, but the views don't pay as much.
So don't.
Exactly.
The digital aspect when you look
depends
at
on how you monetize it though.
right, but it's not the thing is with kind of what Sully's, and I'm an artist as well. When you remove the availability for the artist to make money, if I'm making $10 a disc versus I'm getting a fraction of a penny for a stream, how many people do I need to rotate when the big companies are making $9 a subscription? Well, now I got to get 1 million YouTube followers before I'm even able to monetize now. So now I'm shooting videos, I'm paying other people when I could have did all of this stuff myself. The entrepreneurship.
All I'm saying is where there's a will, there's a way.
Wait, you got to figure it out.
You don't have to work at Burger King instead of this. It's just a different path for each thing. You just got to put the plan together and work your plan.
But where's the plan come from?
So when you talk about the music aspect, right?
Yeah.
India Irie just made headlines because she asked Spotify to remove all her music.
100%. Let's do it.
Right? So she asked them, the reason behind it is because Joe Rogan, right, is paid by Spotify $100 million, and he has several segments or several instances where he is just dropping the nigger word, hard ER, right? So each time. So she said, now Spotify is built off the backs of black artists, but they get paid, listen to this stat now, they get paid 3% of a penny per stream. So think about how many streams that you have to get to see $100, right?
But I'm mad at them for having a business structure and a model.
Am I not?
No, we're not mad.
We're not mad, but you look at it, okay, here's a guy that disrespects our culture.
Absolutely.
Your business is built off the back of our culture.
Right.
And then you don't even pay me half of what you pay him. You pay me 3% of a penny.
But you still have to sign the contract. Regardless of what it is, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision to put yourself in that position.
But that's not the point.
You gotta be your father's man at the end of the day. You make a decision.
That's not the point.
Yeah, we make the decision, but it goes back to this.
Yeah, I got his point.
So it goes back to this then, right? Is it systemic or is it our choice? Because some things that you get into, we're already behind when we get into this game. Like, let's just be real, right? When you look at how Lee Summit, let's look at economics in Kansas City. When we look at how Lee Summit is growing, now that they have a Lee Summit West, even though they had a Lee Summit North and a Lee Summit, that school is the creme de la creme. Why? Because everybody around there makes a certain dollar amount to pour back into that school. Also, when schools have things, those parents are there, they're vocal. They want to know who the coach is. They want to know who the principal is. We just seen what happened with the superintendent at Lee Summit who was black, right? He's at his homecoming enjoying himself, not in a work-related situation, and look what they go and do. So it's systemic. So some of these things, you're right, we make the choice to get in here to these things, but we're already playing behind. So what am I going to do? Challenge the organization and continue to fall behind? Or am I going to do what I need to do, try to make change, and hopefully be that inspiration where people say, hey, you know what, you're on to something. Teach me how to do this. Teach me how to do that. What mistakes did you make? See, that's the thing. We focus so much on, well, we should have read the line. Bro, where we're at now, we're already 4 or 5 steps behind just because the color of our skin.
400 years.
We've been doing that for years.
But what have we done to change it? But that's a reality. It's not something that you just can't shy away. It's a reality.
I do want us to stop doing that to ourselves.
Hold on 1 second, y'all.
Hold on, let's be respectful. Let's be respectful. And we are filming, so side conversations can be heard.
Sound.
I do want us to stop doing that to ourselves where we put ourselves down like we're 400 years behind, because we're moving at a great pace, man. In a short amount of time, we already got our like billionaires and a whole bunch of millionaires in the making, billionaires and stuff like that. I got several people in my family that's like doing extremely well. We all come from the inner city. You know what I'm saying? So like, I see it with my own eyes, all the progress that we're making. If we focus we have to be solution-based with all the issues that we have.
But in order to be solution-based, you have to recognize the problem. It's like order of operations, bro. So you can't get to a solution without breaking down the problem. So I can't say, let's be solution-based, and I never took the time to examine the problem and what fell through the cracks. Like, that's just what it is. And we as a culture, we want to figure out being solution-based because it's easy, but we don't want to take the time to sit down and find out where we fell through the cracks. And sometimes doing that means we got to look in the mirror, because it's easy to point the finger and say what the institution didn't do, but what didn't we do? What didn't I do as a parent that while my child is still here? What didn't I do with my money when I got paid that I'm still broke? Like, that's the problem that we have to sit and analyze before we get to the solution. Right?
We're on the same page.
The reason we go to that stuff is because, like you were saying, different sections. I came from the city. My mama was part of that. She pushed me to the school every day. Believe me, you don't eat here, you eat at school. You go to school and do what you do. You come home, you do what you do. Don't talk to me, don't do none of that. So I didn't get no structure until I came to my cousin's house. And then that's when I found out, oh, you can actually go here and get a baggie. You don't have all that. It's different sections. I grew up mid-city, straight from 12 and 10. So it's different looks. You don't get that push in the back. It's, here goes some rocks. Go run that. Go make your money. You don't have a parent come and hold your hand and tell you, come here, let me help you go outside, let me teach you your math, let me teach you this and that. There's a big difference.
100%.
And I go back, we already had it, y'all. Let me just say, Black Wall Street was in everything. We had our own everything. When we started relying on other people is when we went wrong. But we have the blueprint. We already know what it is. We know we have the ability to do it. So all these people in this room who has created opportunities for themselves, all you have to do is teach somebody else how to create the same opportunity. And they'll triple it, because they'll be even better. So I just want to say, it's not that we are 3 steps behind, it's that we already did it, and then we start relying on other people to do it for us. Our kids are super smart.
A lot of us condition of fear still.
Exactly.
We still go off our old grandparents
That's
because we home before the street lights
That's
and shit.
generational
So
trauma.
we still got that fear. We don't move off of this.
Miss Sheridan?
Yeah, so, like Christina, she's saying, accountability. Like she said, we already had it. And my thing is, it's, okay, Willis, me, Geronda, Tierra, it's 4 realtors in here. How many times a week do you have a conversation about credit?
phone calls about credit. Then you give them a credit resource, they don't want to call them, they don't want to pay it. And so it's like, it's the word accountability. We've had it, we've been there, we've done that. There's tons of blueprints you can get on YouTube. It's these kids on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok teaching us how to do the credit stuff. So it's like, at one point, I offer a free home buyer class. Literally, all they have to do is open their email. And then somebody will call me 6 months later, well, I still am not ready. I gave you a free credit resource. Like, what's going on? So there's accountability. I get, tell me your name one more time. Sully. I get what he's saying. It's like, how long are we going to continue to allow ourselves to make excuses when we can be solution-based, we can help ourselves? Yes, there are systematic things that are against us, but there are people who have done it and who do it. I follow a realtor in Atlanta who is the blueprint. Half of us are subscribed to her, you know, each month. I'm paying, I think, $150 a month to get the education that they are giving. I'm willing to do that. You have to be willing to do that. Our vibe attracts our tribe. That's why I think all of us are in the room right now. We're all in the room with one another right now because we want that. So all I would say is the accountability part of it, whether it's the young kids, ourselves, y'all started the conversation with professionalism and doing business with ourselves. You just have to be willing to want it. And we can't continue to be like, well, my mom didn't do it. And okay, so what? Now we have the education to do it. Whether you went to college or not, I make more money doing something I didn't even need to go to college doing. Come on, love college. I met some of y'all in the room because of UCM. A lot of my clients are my college friends, you know, but I'm just saying accountability is the biggest word. We can make our community better by being solution-based, by helping one another, being willing to pay one another, you know, and just surrounding yourself with those who do want better.
I think you hit one key point at the end. Everything was a key point. Let me not say that. But the biggest thing was working together. And I think we're getting closer to time. So we talked about solutions. So for me, you mentioned working together. A lot of y'all came as individuals. Y'all may know some people in the room, but one thing that's in common, we do have friends outside of the people that are in this room. We don't necessarily do business with those people. One thing I will say from Kansas City, I've experienced, you got some highs and lows, but mostly when people have something or they own something, they want to hold on to it so much and not share with nobody else because they feel like, what, now you may be a threat to my business, or you might take an idea of mine or run off with something that I created. The thing is, man, the culture is the culture. And it's not for you to decide what you want to hold on to. If you were given a gift or an opportunity, or like Sully as an artist, or Willis, y'all are skilled as real estate agents. Y'all know things we don't know. Y'all are challenged and called to seriously come together and bond and make decisions that will impact our culture. And I see a lot of, is individualism, is that even a word? It is. I feel that way. I feel that way. Like, get yours, but don't sit up here and hinder or prevent somebody else and block the airways. Like, everybody got to connect, and they want to sit here and hoarder that. So I don't know. I really feel like today was extremely important, and everybody knows everybody from this point. And I challenge y'all to bring somebody that's like-minded, just like you, next month. I really do, because people need to hear this. And if, you know, y'all need music for a website, why pay for licensing for somebody else to get the money? You got an artist right here. You know, it may cost you something to charge him to put that on your website, you on Billboard. We got several people making moves. You know, it's thing.
With us keep saying being solution-based and things of that nature, scientifically there are tools for you to find the root of a problem in order to find the right solution.
100%.
So if we're slapping the wrong solution on the wrong problem, we have to find the root of the problem first. And sometimes it isn't just, oh, they don't know what to do. There are generational traumas that have been passed down to our people that are preventing us from going out and asking for help, that are preventing us from going out and saying, you know what, my mom didn't do that, I'm going to do that. Let's look at statistics of the amount of Black people that ask for negotiations when going for a new job. It's way lower than white people, and 100%. It's not just because we're scared or we don't think we're worth it. It is generational trauma. So we have to find the root of the problem. Ask the 5 whys as to why this person is acting the way that they're acting, because it can't always be the same reason across everybody. We have to make sure that we're finding the root of these issues per person. It is different. It's a case-by-case situation. The root, so that the solution that we're giving to them actually works for them.
We mentioned, yeah. we mentioned.
That's what it means, finding the problem.
Yeah.
Giving the right.
But we
I
were
got you.
ignoring the fact that we're saying like, oh, well, we can't just say that.
No, I got you. I'm gonna hit on that too. I'm gonna hit on that too. Honestly, I feel like the people in this room hold a large weight of accountability. We mentioned that already. You mentioned what some of these people are feeling and what they may not know. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that look like us besides the people in this room that are actively spending community service time going to invest in the youth. Like I said, over 100 kids that I got access to 3-4 times a week. Most of them are getting dropped off by their mother. So we mentioned the root. Where's the male? Where's the male in the home? So I can go to another point. 9.4% of African American peoples in a household make $100,000, just collectively, 9%. So you have mostly people operating as black folks as individuals. We are not joined in the house, period. So the elimination of the black man out of the household is a huge key. You mentioned the root. So if my daddy ain't there, I got to figure it out. If I'm a female there and I learn from my mama, we probably beefing and catty during them ages anyway. The experiences and stuff that you need by seeing the totality of income in a home and working together is not here. That's your root. How do you fix that since divorce rates amongst black people are decreasing? We staying together longer than white folks. We are. But those that are single, repair that single parent dynamic. Stop beefing with your baby daddy because you got personal reasons. Stop beefing with your baby mama because she got a new nigga. It's about the kid. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, invest your time in the people that will take care of us when we 65 and 70. You mentioned what's broken, that's broken. I think we have the energy that Sully was saying. We still are youthful to get out here and get active. Some of us looking up like, damn man, about to be 40, bro. We young. And we got the experience of both. We know how to roll our sleeves up and get dirty and work like our grandparents did. And we got enough access to the younger generation to whip a computer up and look stuff up and get active. So it's accountability. And it's so I'm saying?
All right, man, so.
Yeah, go ahead, is that my bad? We rolling.
We rolling, so listen, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for coming out to the networking situation. Right, so this is not just the first and last. We're gonna do something once a month, so please be on the lookout. Like we said, it takes a village. So make sure when you see us promoting this that you share it, you comment, you invite other people to come. Like it's not just for us to gain more followers for our podcast. Like we're doing this to bring each other together to close the gap. So I'm gonna leave it like this: accountability is your best ability, right? That's what my old coach told me. But he also told me the cream of the crop gonna float to the top, but shit float too.
You damn right.
So you do what you do with that. All right, so listen. Again, we appreciate you coming out, man. Look, be looking for this episode to drop within the next week or two, man. We appreciate everybody coming out for the networking event. Check out the Stone Clothing at crimsonkings.com. It's your boy Blacc signing out, man. Peace.